much wrong with Vauxhall's 7th generation K-Series Astra that a few good engines wouldn't have sorted out. These have been added as part of the updates made here, delivering efficiency gains that might cause careful family hatchback buyers to see this car in a whole new light. The hatch and sports tourer variants on offer both get extra technology too. Think you know the Astra? Maybe it's time to take another look.
We had forgotten just how good this Astra is to drive. If you happen to be familiar with the original version of this K-Series 7th generation model, then you might not have. Relatively lightweight and a clever Watts linkage suspension system made the handling of this car beautifully balanced, and that's something that's been further enhanced by the dynamic improvements made to this revised model. Revised spring and damper rates, which improve the ride over poor surfaces, and by fresh calibration for the steering, which improves body control at higher speeds. The lighter 3-cylinder engines now fitted here also help in that regard. Most will want the 1.2 litre petrol unit, offered in 3 flavours with 110, 130 and 145 PS. And if you want an auto gearbox, there's also a further 1.4 litre 3-cylinder petrol variant fitted with a 7-speed CVT self-shifter. Here we've opted to try the alternative diesel, another new 3-cylinder power plant, this one 1.5 litres in size and offering a choice of either 105 PS or, as in this case, 122 PS outputs. Choose the gutsier engine and you'll be offered the option of Vauxhall's first 9-speed auto gearbox, a torque converter unit which shifts smoothly but isn't especially eager to kick down. Stick with the lower powered diesel and you'll get yourself an Astra whose combined cycle fuel economy is WLTP rated at up to 65.7 mpg with NEDC rated CO2 emissions of 90 grams per kilometre. Plus, that 105 PS diesel variant features RDE2 compliance with the latest emissions regulations, which means that users will avoid the usual 4% benefit-in-kind diesel engine tax surcharge. Those class-leading figures have led Vauxhall to calculate that over a 4-year, 80,000-mile ownership period, a base diesel Astra would save you around £1,800 in running costs compared to an equivalent diesel Ford Focus. Mid-term facelifts are usually all style over substance. Here it's the other way around, which is good, but ideally the Astra needed both if it was to reassert its position towards the head of the family hatchback segment. As before, there's a choice of 2 body styles, this 5-door hatch or an alternative sports tourer estate. You'd need to be a salesperson or a fanatically loyal Astra owner to notice the visual changes made, and they're only really evident at the front. The twin chrome lines that previously flanked the central brand badge on the grille have been replaced by a single silver strip here. Now that flows into the daytime running light elements in the headlamps, which now feature full LED illumination on most models. At the wheel, as before, the characteristic fascia element is what Vauxhall refers to as a blade-style panel that stretches right across the cabin, which remains ergonomic, quite nicely finished, and on a plusher variant like this one, relatively smart, although there's perhaps not quite the depth of quality that you'd find in a rival Volkswagen Group product. Infotainment, that's taken care of by a centre dash screen of either 7 or 8 inches in size. Go for the Multimedia Navi Pro package, which gets you this bigger monitor, and you'll also get a further 8-inch screen to replace the 2 conventional analogue dials, which you'd otherwise view through this 3-spoke steering wheel here. This instrument monitor can't show full mapping, but it is highly configurable with all kinds of useful data. Finding a comfortable driving position is pretty straightforward, and on the base models, we'd certainly recommend that you pay the small amount extra that Vauxhall asks for the superbly supportive 16-way adjustable driver's ergonomic active seat. That's certified by the German AGR organisation, who campaign for seat design better suited to healthier backs. What else? Well, your over-the-shoulder visibility, that's a bit compromised, but there is plenty of cabin storage space. Right, let's take a seat in the back. Once inside, it's actually a lot more spacious than the exterior dimensions and the outward styling lead you to expect. There is almost as much space for your knees as you find in a Skoda Octavia, and that is the family hatch class leader in this regard. Scalloped front seat backs help here, as does the way that you can slide your feet properly right under the seat in front. Finally, let's take a look at luggage space, and that's another area you'd think might have been compromised by this 7th generation model's slight reduction in size. Actually, when you raise the tailgate in this hatch version, there's a very usable 370 litre space. That's measured up to the parcel shelf. Now, true, that isn't an especially noteworthy figure by current class standards, but it isn't a bad showing for a car that's less than 4.4 metres in length. Now, earlier we did mention the Sports Tourer version's longer wheelbase. Well, as you'd expect, that does facilitate a much greater level of capacity, 540 litres. So, to the bottom line, which is quite simply that it's time for the market to re-evaluate the Vauxhall Astra. You might have ignored the previous version of this 7th generation model because a Focus felt better to drive, a Golf felt better built, or any one of a whole series of potential rivals offered better value. But forget that now. To a great extent, it's reasoning that no longer applies. Best of all, this Astra remains, for the time being anyway, mainly British, with hatch and estate models built at Ellesmere Port near Liverpool to a quality at least as high as anything that the Japanese brands can manage. That reason alone might well be enough to give this car a place on your family hatchback shortlist. Fortunately for Vauxhall, there are also many others.